intro.
Welcome to the First Focal Plane Podcast with Sean and Rooster.
You totally hit the wrong one.
I know. How
Whatever,
are you guys. Yeah,
we're doing fantastic. How are
it's
you?
good. Not too bad. I'm. It seems like my internet's lagging a little bit. At least it was better than last week. That was
a gong show. Hey,
wicked.
you sounded great to us, but it appeared as though you couldn't tell what we were saying at all.
It was like a 3-year-old smashing on a synthesizer or something. Just going to town.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty. That was good, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I practiced that. Yeah. Hey, welcome to the First Focal Plane Podcast.
Right on. Which episode is it?
48.
It is
48. That's 2 days worth.
Huh. Well, at any rate, 48. Yeah. Well, First Focal Plane Podcast, episode 48, where we keep our friends close and our enemies in the government.
Did you think of that, or did Sean think of that?
I did. No,
that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
I think that's all right, actually, for as bloody tired as I am. My hard drive is just gagging like crazy right now. Anyway, we're brought to you tonight by EM Precision Rifles in Leduc, Alberta. As Canada's premier precision builder of lightweight hunting rifle starter packages and ELR rigs, EM Precision has the right stuff to get you into the field, onto the range, and into the winner's circle. Again, we're going to push the Curtis Custom Actions. They've been named the official action of the 2021 Precision Rifle Series. Congratulations to Chase and the crew at Curtis Custom. EM Precision Rifles is the sole exclusive distributor for Curtis Customs. If you're looking for any one of their products, hit up Shane on Facebook, Instagram, and their website at emprifles.ca. You can also go to I believe it's curtiscustom.com. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
sorry, I'm typing. I'm sorry. I'm interacting with everybody on chat, and here I'm just missing my cues. So should we do this one? Like we're gonna spice up a little bit. Should I do this with like an accent or something?
You surprise us.
I'll take like requests. Like, what accent should I do here? Should we keep it simple? Like, just do English or something?
Do Aussie, but leave out the C word, because I mean you're a good C word. He's a good C word. She's a good C word. You know how that goes?
I'm not very good. You know, as weird as it sounds, I'm not good with the Aussie accent. Yeah. We'll just do a Canadian. How about?
Okay.
I'll just say A at the end of every sentence. Whatever. Tonight's Top Shot is brought to you by Bolt Action Coffee. Get into the precision specialty coffee game with Bolt Action Coffee, eh? Hand-loaded weekly to ensure quality of consistent flavor and freshness. Bolt Action Coffee is roasted and packaged Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then all orders are shipped on Thursdays, hosers. This process ensures supply order volumes with match customer order volumes and prevents aging on the shelf.
Sure.
Specially brewed with the precision shooting community in mind. Choose between Scopes Up, Overwatch, Suppressed, and the newly released Midnight Canoe Trip, which tastes delicious.
Tastes like the bottom of a canoe.
Goes great with maple syrup, eh? They also have Yeti to-go mugs, regular mugs, stickers, flags, and shirts. At checkout, use the code FIRSTFOCALPLANE, all one word, for 10% off your order, because who wants to pay taxes anyways? Find them on Facebook, Instagram, and on their website at boltactioncoffee.com.
Well done there, bye.
Bye. Okay, you got to do the next one, Newfie, now.
No, I don't. All right, folks, our squad leader segment is brought to you by Call Sign 66. Call Sign 66 is a veterans-based organization founded to facilitate multi-generational passage of information, ballistic applications R&D, and shooter development. The omnidirectional passage of information is key to the community's success and growth, as our organizational philosophy is such that we all have something to offer. Welcome to the Brotherhood. Just another reminder that Call Sign 66 is having a wind spotting fundamental seminar Saturday, June 26th at the Nose Hill Gun Club. That's not far away, 5 weeks away. Take 2 days to shoot with Call Sign 66, an environment designed to comprehensively address the fundamentals of calling and correcting for wind, along with working in a team and spotting swirl. That is something that every long-range shooter should
I really actually want to do that, because I can't do that at all.
It's, you know what, for all but the best spotters out there, conditions have to be just right for you to spot that and actually figure out what to do with it. I only ever see a quick flash of it, and it's gone. And you know, it's always best when the sun's behind you, so it kind of lights up the ass end of that bullet. But I
imagine you probably have to be shooting at a pretty good distance before you're really seeing that stuff consistently anyway.
Well, it depends on what you're shooting as well. I mean, you've seen it yourself in your own scope, shooting 22 out to 100 meters, something like that. You'll see that bullet every once in a while.
Yeah,
actually fairly often, depending on the ammo you're shooting. But the same applies with bigger rifles too. If they're really fast, your arc is not as big, so it doesn't get up into
the side of the scope.
Right. You know, and of course it's a quicker flash when you do see it versus a slower caliber at a longer range. That was my whole intent with using the 308 at extended ranges, to practice for King of 2 Mile. Nice and slow to begin with, and once we improve on those skills, then move out.
Speed it up.
Well, you know, when that 33XC is spitting them out at anywhere between 3150 and 3250, it's cooking to try and find that swirl on those things. Anyway,
well, they'll teach you how to do it. Yeah.
They will.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Finally, our Canadian content, as opposed to our American content, is brought to you by Odell Engineering. Oh man, I almost read The Golden Rooster.
You didn't.
Yeah. Odell Engineering are the geniuses behind the Canuck line of firearms. Odell Engineering is your premium importer of distributor of some of Canada's top brands of firearms, including Bergara, Rock Island Armory, Mission First Tactical, Hyperfire, and of course the made for Canada Canuck firearms. The show is, boss. Rely on Odell Engineering's expertise. Shaking the tree, boss. Shaking the tree. Rely on Odell Engineering's expertise in the Canadian market to provide you the best quality in firearms and firearms accessories. Want an M4, a Benelli M4? Don't want to spend thousands on a semi? Check out the Canuck Operator. Sorry, I have to scroll down. Oh, I'm bad at this. Find this shotgun and a dealer carrying their products at OdellEngineeringLTD.com, on Facebook at Odell Engineering Ltd, or just walk into your local gun store and tell them Phil sent you.
Good old Phil. Hey, everybody, Phil.
Phil sent, yeah. It's like walking into Cheers.
Cheers, right?
Yeah. We'll know that we have made it as a podcast the day that somebody Phil Odell messages us and says, I just got an email from like this retailer in Tuktoyaktuk. Somebody walked into their store and just yelled, Phil sent me. That's how we know that like we've truly made it.
Then we can retire from our day jobs. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if we want to live off the government.
Isn't that coming?
Which it's getting easier and easier to do. Yeah. Hey, we should stop ignoring our guest, because we have a fantastic guest tonight.
We do. However, one final little bit here, just an announcement.
Okay.
If you would, please, the Saskatchewan Provincial Rifle Association, the North Star Range in Nakoma, Saskatchewan, has their first shoot scheduled for May 29th and 30th. The following shoot after that is booked for June 12th and 13th. And of course, there are other dates. I just named those two to get everybody's, salival glands going. I don't know. Is that a thing?
Salival?
I
think it's salivary.
Pique everyone's interest.
There you go.
Classifications offered for 2021 are TR, FTR, F Open, PRS, Tactical, and Hunter Varmint this year. I was reading
Hunter Varmint. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I was reading on the SPRA website earlier tonight that the Tactical, I'm imagining PRS Tactical and the Hunter Varmint are allowing breaks this year, but guys will have to be spaced out more than the normal 3 meter spacing between shooters. So there's some conditions there, but they are offering more classifications for 2021.
Doesn't the government know that burnt gunpowder is an inoculant against all viruses?
Well, you know what? I think everyone should shoot more and more closely together. Yeah.
I'm not so much getting at that. I just want people to be able to do whatever they want.
Yeah, true.
and
true.
Breathing gunpowder, whatever. Lead never hurt anybody, right?
That's right. Whoa. Really, hey? All right. See the SPRA website at saskrifle.com. Now,
yes.
Now let's talk to our wonderful guest.
Yes. How you doing, JR?
Good, guys. How are you doing?
Fantastic.
I think we're all right.
Yeah.
My mom says I'm okay.
Well.
Hey, you don't know my mom. You shut up.
JR.
Defensive there, are you?
Why don't we let you introduce yourself? Tell everybody who you are as if they don't already know, and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, they probably don't know who I am. J.R. Cox. So I own the Shooting Edge in Calgary, Target Sports in Toronto, and I'm a partner in William Evans in the UK. So we've got 2 stores on Bisley Shooting Ground out there, and then the 2 ranges here in Canada.
Right on.
Fantastic.
So that's the nutshell of kind of the corporate organizations that keep me busy and fed and watered.
I didn't know that you had interests in the UK.
Oh, so you learned something new today.
I'm not going to pretend that I we're like good buddies before tonight or anything like that. How are the kids?
You don't know my mom.
That's right.
So what is it like in the UK right now, having a gun-based business as compared to Canada? Like, is it really a lot different?
It's very different. They take their shooting. It's very traditional, but it's a lot of fun actually, and you can see the differences in the market. But people are people, and the people who want to shoot over there, they because they have different rules, very different rules, but they still like to have their guns, still like to go shooting. But when we think about how draconian our rules are, I hope they don't get like the UK.
No
If
kidding.
you get too many speeding tickets, they'll pull your firearms license.
Really?
What?
Oh yeah, if you do anything that the police can say, well, that behavior isn't becoming of somebody who should own firearms, boink, they pull them.
That sounds so British. It's like,
Oh, it sounds.
if you're not
like
acting
that.
proper, we'll take your guns away.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
That's crazy.
and they spend a lot more on their toys than they do here.
Isn't that just a European thing though? Like I've heard about that in Germany too. It's like if you don't have like a $7,000 over under that's completely engraved, then you're a pleb. You're not a real gun owner.
Well, yes and no. You have to remember that when you're Brit or a German, you're earning euros and pounds, and you're spending euros and pounds.
Yeah.
The problem is when we bring their guns here, you're doubling the price. So what they think, so it's like us going and buying a $3,000 gun. They're going and buying a 3,000 pound gun, right? So if you don't change the currency,
It's not as bad.
it's not as bad. So we're get the sticker shock here, because by the time you bring it here, like you pay 10-15% in shipping. You get hosed by some, some distributors, like importers, they tack them up like they're selling it to a dealer at retail. So by the time it hits a retail store, it's already astronomically expensive, and we're earning pesos.
Yeah,
So-
right.
So a gun that by the time it hits the Canadian shelf, it can sometimes be fucking crazy in price compared to if you got it right from the well in Germany or in the UK.
So we think that they're all just posh with their guns, but for them, it's not that big of a deal.
Oh, I've sold a lot of guns, a lot of trailer trash over there too. Don't worry.
all the pikeys and that sort of stuff.
But it's fun shooting over there. I gotta tell you,
Yeah.
like every Canadian who likes to bird hunt really needs to go on like a driven shoot or a farm shoot in the UK. There isn't one
it's a
piece of
proper
camouflage
event,
to be
isn't
seen
it?
anywhere.
Yeah.
You wear your tweeds.
Yeah.
And
Funny hat.
you have there's a little drink, a little bit of champagne or a little shot before you go shoot. Then between your drives, then there's 11sies.
11sies? That sounds like a
so
drinking game.
It is. I don't see you. They pull out all kinds of snacks, and you have little snacks, and then you go shooting again, and you have lunch and some more shooting, and it's like,
Really?
oh yeah,
That sounds fantastic. I'm not
it
going to
really
lie.
is. It's a good experience. And then when you shoot like deer, like I haven't shot a deer in Canada in 10 years because I do all my shooting in the UK.
Really?
They're culling them like the thing about owning a gun store in the UK is you get to know all the chefs. They're very chefy over there, and they serve a lot of wild game in their restaurants. Like they have a way of getting it directly from farm. Like you can actually harvest it. It gets certified and goes into the food chain. So like local guys will go shoot like 5 or 6 pheasants in the morning and take them to the local pub. They'll be on the menu that day.
Really?
So yeah. So
How are we not doing that? That is
I know.
like,
I've tried talking to like Jason Kenny here in Alberta, and they're looking at it because when you think about it, protein's so friggin' expensive.
yeah.
So if you want to get to like the Alex, which is an amazing food place here, like they feed so many people. But if you could, their biggest problem is proteins. If you could, if we could supply them with ducks and geese, like I know some people would hunt, but they go out and they go, fuck, I got 3 ducks, I'm done because I don't know what I'm going to do with them for the rest of the year. So they don't harvest more. We have so many that if they know, oh, the Alex will take 30 ducks today, then 3 guys will go in there and fill their limit, clean them, drop them off. There you go. You got duck meat for a week, right?
Absolutely.
So it's really a shame that we don't do that in North America, but in the UK they do tons of that. So when I go shooting for deer there, the only guys I go in, there's no body shots. It's headshots and nothing. If you can't do a headshot, they won't take you.
You're not proper.
Well, because they don't want you to ruin any of that meat.
Any
that
of the
meat's
meat,
valuable.
And I apologize to Kelly now. She told me not to use that accent
did.
again, and there I did it.
Oh,
Didn't listen,
bloody
did you?
hell.
Bloody hell. Oh man, we're gonna use it like now. You're screwed, Kelly, because now me and JR are both using the accent.
I'm quite upset about that.
That duck will go quite well with port. Yes, quite.
Jolly good.
You're doing actually not too bad for a jackass.
I resemble that remark.
I wasn't talking to you, or was I?
Or was I?
Yeah.
That's what you call a twofer.
It's pretty cool over there.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Except for
they've got their followings. I mean, but then we've caught up to them. Like they have their straight shots. Now we're stuck in our our issues here with the semi-auto ban, and then I don't know what's going to happen. There's some cool stuff on the market. That in Canada, like the 180s are still, and I know there's grumblings. There's other manufacturers that are going to launch some stuff.
Okay.
Nobody really wants to say much in advance because they don't want to give Bill Blair and their buddies any advance notice.
And who can blame them?
Yeah, that's a rough go for like Canadian manufacturers and even distributors, retailers. Like we don't have the same customer base that like the United States does, and then you spend all this money and time on R&D, and you bring out something new and exciting, and then bam.
And, I was thinking the RCMP. I mean, the guys in the lab. I mean, most of the people in the lab are probably nice people. They're probably good people, but the people who run it are shysters. Right? It's a big Ponzi scheme. I've got guns in there that have been there. I have 2 that have been there over 2 years, and I have not gotten off RT yet.
You're kidding.
2 years.
Wow.
So is it something that should be pretty cut and dry, and they're just ignoring, or?
Yeah. One of them was like another version of another non-restricted AR-15,
Yeah.
and it went in. They said, oh, and then they kicked it back, and then we did a whole redesign, resubmitted it. It's been over 2 years.
No way.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the thing. Like, what's your recourse?
Right.
There's
nothing
Yeah.
you can
So
do.
that's why I know Sterling's going to have a pretty cool rifle coming out soon, and they're not going to send a sample into the RCMP till after they're selling at retail.
Really?
Well, you don't need an FRT,
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
right? And then the thing is, too, is until they pass C21, do
Yeah.
something with it. I mean, the RCMP are wringing their hands, going, "Oh, they want more power."
Yeah, yeah.
So
Sure.
they're loving this. Well, look, the lab is. Like, let's face it, most RCMP members, they're just like us. Like
The enforcement
we-
in the field. Yeah.
you can't, you can't blame them for any of this shit. I had a great chat with the Alberta CFO today. They're really trying hard, like at their level. They're trying hard to work with us because we got customers that want to go to the States. So what do we do with their guns? And like, they're moving, they're trying hard, but their hands are tied. Like, they don't make any policy. They don't make any laws or rules.
Yeah.
They're just there to enforce them. So I get it. I'm trying to be very reasonable and accommodating when I talk to the front line, because they don't make this stuff. Like, they're not going out there. They're not their personal mandate isn't to screw us over. It's much higher up.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, hang on. Sorry. Oh, look at this.
Nice.
This just in. We have a
Oh.
wild-haired,
Look
reticulated
at this
Sean
guy.
in his
that
natural habitat.
Howdy. Yeah.
What's up, man?
Hey guys.
We were
Yeah,
just
did he
talking.
just come out of your
Jared
Oval
was just
Office,
filling.
Chris?
What's that?
I said, did
What?
you just come out of your Oval Office there, Chris?
Yeah, he just came out of my Oval Office. He was under the desk.
Nah, yeah, right.
Your
I was-
Oval what?
My Oval Office.
Isn't that your background there?
Yeah, of course it is. Sean was under my desk. How are you doing tonight, Mr. Lewinsky?
Good. I'm tired. I'm here.
You're
Sure,
here.
that's sweat.
That's what matters, man. We were just listening. JR was actually. I'd like to. I don't want to really
Pontificating.
move on to it because it was interesting. But JR was just telling us about the FRT process and having a couple of things in the wings that have been there for 2 years. And you were mentioning the CFOs and how they can't really, like, they don't really have a whole lot of leeway to really do anything.
No,
And I was-
but they can jerk your chain, right? Like in
Sure.
Ontario, like I've had my chain jerked around a lot by CFOs over the years. Like, I've been on this now for over 20 years, and we've had some good CFOs. We've had some fucking shitty CFOs, and in Ontario, we've had some horrific CFOs, right? Because with Target Sports, so Ontario, I think I've had the worst CFOs.
Yeah.
The crew there now is pretty good, but the worker bees, like the people who are processing permits and transfers, like they've been awesome. But like we've had people who come in who are supposed to be the range inspectors, and they're completely out of their remit. For one thing, they're trying to tell me to do things, and it's like finally we have to push back and say, so when did you get your engineering degree?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
You're changing the engineering.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, so could you give me that in writing? Because I think the engineers, the association would like to know that
Might
you're
have
practicing
something to-
engineering
yeah,
without an
that's
engineering
exactly
degree.
right.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you
I-
don't get, yeah.
I'd like to talk to you more about that, but I before we move off the topic of CFOs, it's you said you've been doing this for more than 20 years. I've only been doing this for about 6 years now, and
Baby.
I know, right? and I'm definitely not as plugged into the Canadian community as you are.
You're
But
just not as bitter as the rest of us yet.
yeah, I
Not
haven't
yet.
reached the cynical stage yet. But it seems to me like the CFO position is one of two things. You can either, like, if you get a shitty CFO, they can absolutely make life difficult.
100%.
But if you get a good CFO, their hands are really tied in being able to make things better.
Well,
Am I right about that?
Not necessarily. Like,
Okay.
so I've talked to the new Alberta CFO 4 times in the last 2 months. That is 4 times more than I talked to the last 2 CFOs in Alberta in their entire tenures. They were unattainable. You could not talk to them. I would send letters, emails, phone calls, and then one of their local guys would call me and say, "Oh, you're trying to get all the CFO. I'm here to deal with the matter." It's like, no, I want to talk to your fucking boss. I want to talk to the organ grinder, not the fucking monkey.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it can be difficult to talk to the organ grinder when they're having difficulty getting their own head out of their butt. It's difficult to have conversations.
Right, but now I send an email note to the general office of the CFO's office. Next thing I know, the CFO's on the phone, saying, "Okay, we looked in this. Does that answer your question?" Yes. Okay, I'll have somebody follow up with an email. Okay, like that's it. Like it was.
Yeah.
We cut through a month of bullshit and going back and forth because we were able to discuss it like grown-ups. She knew exactly what we needed. Went away, came back with their interpretation, so then we can implement something. And so that was really good.
So they really can make a difference then, or I guess they make a difference in being able in that they'll cooperate with you.
Well,
Yeah,
and they'll bring a reasonability. Sorry, JR. They'll bring out their job is to interpret the law to the best of their ability in a fair and decent way, and that just hasn't happened with the majority of CFOs.
No. So right now we're kind of doing okay in Alberta, but I mean we're going to get our own CFO. But who do we get?
Right.
That's the problem. Is because if we get another ex RCMP or an ex cop again, we're in for the same shit we had before.
Yeah.
Because especially if they're ex RCMP, because they're cop speak. We're not clients, we're criminals. For me, the CFO position should not be in the Solicitor General's office. The CFO should be in Sustainable Resources. They should be in the office right next door to the guy who's in charge of issuing hunting permits. Like looking at policy and procedures for hunting and sustainable resources. That's where the CFO should be because that's all we are, right? But you put it in the Solicitor General's office like we're criminals. And then all you do is you're saying, who's the jailer watching the inmates?
Right.
So it's a different mindset completely than what should be for the CFO role. So
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
The psychologist sees everybody, only sees people with mental illness, right? The police officer is going to see everybody as a potential criminal.
Yeah, and also too is let's face it, if you're a senior sergeant or an inspector in the RCMP, you retire, and you're back in, you get hired back to the CFO in Alberta. And your buddy from Ottawa, who you knew from conferences, this fucking RCMP guy calls, say, "Hey, Chris, we're having a little issue. Like this guy, maybe he shouldn't have a firearms license or whatever. Oh, we'll look into that." They'll do the little handshake, right?
Yeah.
And this poor bastard, whoever, is screwed. I just don't trust the system to behave properly when you're already stacking the cards against us because we're clients. Like when you think about it, 2.2 million firearms owners that really are doing nothing wrong, we're clients. Like they don't treat people with driver's licenses the same way.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
No, think about it.
Traffic
they don't
cops
treat,
too.
They don't treat big chunks of people that way. So it's really important that I think the mindset is different. Right now, I said in Alberta, we're lucky we have a CFO and the staff that treat us like that. So I'm hoping we don't, throw the baby with the bathwater, for lack of a better phrase. And we've got a good thing going right now. And just for the sake of having our own CFO, put somebody in there and then get rid of the staff that really are working their butts off, like to treat us as clients.
Yeah.
So that we can, we can have all these issues again.
Yeah. Well, I got 2 things I got to get to here. First of all, Phil, and by the way, guys, if you ever want Cerakote done in the province of Saskatchewan, this is your fucking guy right here. But anyway, he says, he mentions that Saskatchewan got Bob Freeberg from the Wildlife Federation as CFO. So I don't know how much you know about the incoming Saskatchewan appointed CFO, but we're talking about a guy who is former president of the Saskatoon Wildlife Federation, and as I understand it, he worked for a lot of years in management with Brinks Security, and I know there's a lot of real enthusiasm and optimism about him coming in as
he's
CFO.
The reason you guys have the facility you do in Saskatoon, right?
Well, he is, and even despite all of the ridiculous hoops that they had to jump through when they were recertifying their ranges in Saskatoon, like we're talking like crazy stuff. Like the outgoing CFO had them delete all of their side berms in their silhouette range, to the point where when you're standing on the firing line at the silhouette range now, if you look from your firing position to the northeast corner, you actually have a gap that if you've just fired even a slight angle too much to the left, like I was out there the other day, I could see the farmer's field with his irrigation system, and we're talking like maybe a 15-degree angle to the left, and you're firing straight into that field where he's out there a couple times a year seeding or harvesting or whatever else with vehicles.
So they had berms.
They had side berms, and they deleted them. They took them down. And the CFO said, you don't need side berms. What you need is static shooting positions. So they created these boxes all along this shooting, and it's probably 150, 200 foot long firing line. And they either have static benches or red boxes that you have to stand in for static shooting positions. And they tell you, if you're in this shooting box, you can only shoot at these targets. If you're in this shooting box, you can only shoot at these targets, as though that were actually happening with everybody. Like that's a reasonable thing to instill, rather than having side berms.
That's ridiculous.
It blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind, especially when you think,
what kind of a fucking jackass do you have to be to come up
we
with
were lucky.
I know, right?
There's a guy named Mike Massolo, and I worked with him in the Army. He was a major in the artillery, and we had him in Alberta for years before he retired. After he retired from the Army, his second career was with the CFO's office as the range inspector. And artillery guys, it's like artillery is all about range templates, right? When you're a senior officer, right? And he really wrote the book. Like he pushed a lot of boundaries. He said the book, the guideline book, is just that, a guideline. If you can show a better and safer way to do it, we'll look at it. And as opposed to Ontario, it says, if it doesn't conform exactly to this book, you can't do it. And so Alberta got, when he was in charge of the ranges, because he reined in the stupidity of the inspectors, we had this sweet spot for ranges in Alberta. And when he retired, it hasn't gotten so bad yet, but Ontario it's a mess. It's a mess because these guys, they've hired a bunch of people, and some of them don't have even the most basic engineering skills.
Yeah.
So
it's just like person after person of ridiculousness piled upon ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Well, and then you throw in the power that goes along with the position, and for someone who probably hasn't been in a position of power like that before, that can go to somebody's head real quick. And I've seen a lot of gross, I don't know, negligence isn't the proper word, but misuse of that position, just doing things just for the sake of doing things, like making changes and costing ranges money, et cetera, et cetera.
Like requiring sunshades for people that have like a 75 to 100 foot tall back berm. Yeah.
Correct.
Not naming the Regina Fish and Game League or anything.
Yeah, really.
We've got a question here from Zach, and Kurt, would you like to try and pronounce his name, or do you just want me to do it?
Schwingle Schwaggle.
So Zach, he's like, this is him right now. He's like,
exactly.
So Zach Schwingenschogel would like to know.
Or is it a Schlegel?
Schlegel? I don't know, man. We gotta bring Zach on one day just to pronounce his fucking name for Kurt.
Hey, just by saying that, this guy has saved the shooting community, like businesses, gazillions of dollars in premiums. Like this, like the Caprice insurance. I will say that, like, the first year I switched to him, he saved me between my two stores $80,000 in Canada.
Wow.
So the least we could do is get his goddamn last name right.
No,
That's true.
No.
I do.
Anyway, he wants to know what is one thing that makes a good CFO and what is one thing that makes a bad CFO. Let's go like if your number one thing that makes a good CFO and the number one thing that makes a bad CFO.
Number one thing that makes a good CFO is accessibility, right? Because I think that's accessibility. Because if you can get a hold of the CFO, then you can deal with shit. Mm-hmm. And then conversely, the one thing that makes a Smith.
Zach Smith. Not even Schmidt. It's just going to be Smith.
Yeah. And then I guess conversely, that's something that make a CFO bad would be inaccessibility. But I also think a thing that makes a good CFO is knowing their client base.
Yeah.
So if a good CFO knows that we're clients,
choose to do that.
Like who the stakeholders are. Like the stakeholders are not the cops. They're one of many stakeholders. Right? So a CFO that knows who their stakeholders are and engages those stakeholders, great CFO. Because they'll really know what's going on. Right? A CFO like the last couple we've had who don't give a shit who we are, like they're all in it for the cops. And from that perspective on the enforcement side, shitty CFO. Right?
You know, it's funny. I've heard a few times over the last little while, especially with, some of the legislation, the OIC, that the police were like, well, how are our members supposed to practice off duty and all this sort of, so you've been hearing about it a little bit more. And I've been thinking about a couple of different ranges who are coming out publicly saying like, we need law enforcement at our ranges. The Saskatoon Wildlife Federation has said a few times that like without them, membership fees are astronomical, sort of thing. But I think that the point that you just made is a great counterpoint. Is that it's like the law without us, there's no range for the law enforcement to use either. Like without the rank and file members, right? It's almost like I don't know if maybe it's different from range to range, and maybe there are some ranges that rely more on law enforcement to keep open than members, and I would imagine there's probably some that rely on members more than law enforcement to stay open. It seems like we're always doing this black or white either or thing, but we're kind of like we kind of rely on each other,
The problem is I would never build a range anticipating that a big chunk of my revenue would be from the law enforcement side.
Oh, never.
It should be that you operate without them. And then if you want to let them use it, you let them use it. We have at Target and the Shooting Edge, we have like we call it the local hero program. So basically, if you carry a gun, there's a special pricing for you for day passes, memberships, everything. Because I want you, if you're going to carry a gun on the streets, I want you, if you have to pull that thing and pull that trigger, not hit me who's 10 feet off to the side as an innocent bystander. Yeah. So we really want that. And I think that's really important that these guys have the opportunity, they have the opportunity because as budgets cut back, they can't often get access to their specific range is. Like here in Calgary, they have a hard time because the range is full for just recalls and their training. So they can't just they used to be able to go all the time, get a box of ammo, do some practicing. From what I hear, they just can't get the range time. Right? Plus, when you go to the range, like let's face it, it's to go to the police range. If you're an officer, it's just like going to the military range. There's so much bullshit to get to go on the range. So you can't just stroll in like the movies and throw your box of ammo down and start shooting. It's like, who's the range officer? Do you have this? Who's signed off on that? Did you get your lead test done? Like there's so much bullshit noise that they just like to go to a private range to practice.
Yep.
That makes sense. So it's not like Lethal Weapon when he just needs to blow off some steam and just like empty a magazine of his Beretta?
No, that's what I do.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah, well, that's an interesting point too. it almost sounds like you're making the point that like law enforcement needs civilian ranges more than civilians need law enforcement at their ranges
we
to
don't
pay
need
for
them at
memberships.
range. Oh,
Yeah.
we don't need them. Like, we don't need them. It's nice to have them, but
For sure.
I mean, in Calgary, we used to have a problem. One sergeant had a stick up his butt about the shooting edge and was telling all the recruits that we were training gangs and that they shouldn't come in. And I'm
You're training them how to do this?
But I'm thinking, like,
Of course.
you not know
It's
me?
essential.
Like, I'm not gonna fucking let gangbangers, like known gangbangers, come in and
Yeah. Well, of course.
Yeah, no.
You want to talk about a liability issue? Jesus.
Well, I don't give a shit. It's like, I remember I was in the Army for a long time. Like, I
Yeah.
served this country. Like, I don't want that bullshit happening.
Sure.
Right. So I was just like, this guy's. But the thing is, you get a sergeant telling a bunch of new recruits, he only has to say it once, and it took years to get rid of that stigma in our facility.
Just
Years.
poisoned the well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. So, and that's the thing. So it just takes one or two with bad attitude. So no, you should never run a facility with
Banking
the
on
police
rental.
revenue being part of your general revenue to actually make things pay. Charge an extra $20 a year to your membership, and you're done.
Yeah.
Well, and live within your means too, right? If you only got 1,000 members, plan accordingly. Plan your membership fees accordingly.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I look at membership fees. I think most ranges they're too cheap. And I know people are going to be like, what?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, nobody
I
wants to
agree.
pay more. Yeah.
The work that has to go into them?
But they can't afford to do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they looked and said, okay, here's our 5-year plan, we're going to charge, instead of charging our, $65 a year, we're going to charge $100 a year. We're not going to have 15 discount rates. Like when I bought Target Sports in Toronto, the first thing I had to do was get rid of, they had all these little sub clubs renting the facility or leasing it. And the biggest group was all these seniors, and they were paying 25% of the rate that everybody else.
25%.
Because they only used it one day, like one evening a week. So they worked out this deal that they're paying.
So does 80% of the rest of your membership.
Oh my God! Well, worse than that, because these guys are there every week.
Yeah. Well, sure. Yeah.
So when I canned that, and they're like, "I can't believe you're treating seniors like that." I'm like, "You're lucky I don't charge you double."
Yeah.
They're fucking showing up every week and using everything, and then going and lecturing my staff and telling them about fucking what it was like when you bought your first Cooey fucking 64 back for 2 hours. And like I said, you're the most costly, members we have. So no, you pay the same, because I want to give the 19-year-old who can barely afford a membership the ability to come here and keep the price down so he can come in and shoot and stuff. Because I remember when I was that 19-year-old, and to pay my membership fee every year was
Yeah.
brutal.
You can't even afford ammo after it.
All my extra money.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you have state-of-the-art facilities like yourself, Club and Red Deer, that, I don't know what your fees are, but when I moved to Red Deer the first time and I bought a membership at the new club there, the first year they opened, $600. And I'm used to 135.
Yeah.
And I'm like, $600 a year just to be able to shoot. And then I go look at the facility. I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Pretty nice,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you get to show up whenever you want. You don't need anything. Everything works. Like when we got the rifle bay, we got a 50-yard rifle bay in Calgary, and it pisses me off. If I go by there and I see one of the lanes down, it burns my ass. I'm like, why is somebody not fixing that?
Yeah.
Because members pay a lot of money.
Yep.
To show up. Like, we're a country club with guns, really, when you think about it.
That's
Really?
right. Yeah.
A commercial range is that's what it is. So you show up, it better friggin' be working.
It's
It should be
interesting,
clean,
JR.
tidy. Heat should be on during the winter. Air conditioning in the summer. They should enjoy coming in.
It's interesting what you're talking about now. Like, we're talking about guns, but what we're talking about is entrepreneurship, right? It's
100%.
I can't help but draw parallels, because there's so many comparisons to the martial arts industry and the firearms industry. And one of the biggest parallels that I see is that the majority, and I'm going to say the majority of the community and people who get involved in facilitating the community, like ranges, and in a lot of ways, even a lot of retailers, they get into it because they love the subject. They don't get into it because they are entrepreneurs or business people or anything like that. And it's admirable to get into something because you have your passion for it. I think everybody should do that. But I see it in the martial arts industry all the time, and I see it in the firearms industry. Once you get into that, you almost have a responsibility to expand your skill set, and you have to take that passion and you have to build a skill set of entrepreneurship around that. Yeah. And the best example that I can think of to the parallels of martial arts is teaching children martial arts. Everybody that is what I like to call, like, you're either a martial arts business owner or you're a hobbyist, is the way that I delineate them. The hobbyist teaches kids classes and they sell them for $50, $65, whatever per month, less than adults. And they're like, well, they're kids. They're half the size. We should charge them half the price. But when you think about it from
that scale doesn't work.
Yeah. And when you think about it from a dollars and cents standpoint, it's exactly the same as the seniors. They cost more resources to be able to serve.
Sure.
I can teach a class with over 50 adults in it with one instructor.
Yeah.
You can't teach a class with more than 20, 25 kids in it with only one instructor, and that's pushing it. Your real ratio is like 15-1. So if I've got a class with, let's say 60 kids in it, I need to have 4 instructors on the mat. I'm paying 4 salaries compared to 1 salary for an adults class. So I experienced something similar when we started charging the same rate for adults as for kids. Parents are like, well, yeah, but that's the kids' price? I'm like, well, no, that's just the price. That's the membership price. Everybody's paying that price. And people are surprised because there's so many hobbyists that are still not doing that. But it comes down to, it's like, well, as a person who has a passion, and let's bring this back to firearms, as a person who has a passion for firearms and the firearms community and shooting and sports and hunting and everything that goes along with it, if I'm going to open a range and I want to serve my community in the firearms, am I going to be able to serve more people or less people if my range is successful? And am I going to be
answer?
It's a super easy answer, right? And as soon as you think of it that way, all of a sudden you're thinking like, oh shit, I want to go to the range where I'm paying $600 plus a year, because I'm going to get a better service for that. I might get a better range. Maybe I've got floodlights and I'm allowed to shoot at night, or I've got an indoor range as well as an outdoor range, and I can shoot at night because it's indoor. Whatever it happens to be, right?
Or the sense of belonging too, right? Like you walk in the door at that more expensive range. Generally, those people are going to know you. Hey, JR, good to see you, man. How are the wife and kids? Let's do that. Oh, go shoot and we'll talk after, kind of thing.
And God love volunteers, but the reality is that a lot of times when you're dealing with volunteers, it's like, meh. Like if I'm feeling motivated, I'll do something. Yeah. But when my motivation wanes, I'm not getting paid for this shit.
Well, think about it too, is when you join a club, like a not-for-profit club, you got to do cleanup. You got to volunteer for fucking bingos, casinos, all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
There's time, there's money for that. Like that no, but like there's a
cost. You're not wrong.
So when we set our prices, it says, okay, we have a minimum of like 3 or 4 staff on a given time. How much does it cost you for maintenance? What is this like? So we work all this up. It's expensive to run a range. Yeah. Like it really costs a lot of money to run a range.
We just did $130,000 renovation at our range, because we had to do that.
Well, also too is, see, most club like not-for-profit clubs are lucky in the fact that in most provinces, they don't fall under the occupational health and safety rules for staffing. True. So in a commercial range, right, so in Alberta, we've got Wild West, we've got the shooting center, straight shooters, myself, what's called, another one in Edmonton, great range. Les owns it. Phoenix.
Oh,
Sorry.
yes, Phoenix.
Can't forget. Like, so there's not a lot of us. There's commercial rangers, like 6 in the entire province, but we all fall under occupational health and safety rules.
Yep.
So it costs me, because we create a hazardous waste, we probably spend about $100,000 a year in OH&S costs. Every month, the staff get their blood tested. Every quarter, we get the air quality tested.
And that's tangible costs.
Those are those are hard costs. Like these are not negotiable. Like OH&S comes in and they want the records and they want all this stuff, or they'll shut you down. Clubs don't have that. But because of that, what's really good is that when people say, well, your air quality, I can tell you my friggin' air quality is because within 3 months ago, they put like 15 sensors around the entire facility and tested the air quality when people were shooting, with the range officers in the retail, in the classrooms, everything. So I can tell you exactly what my airflow turnover, all this stuff. Here you go. And we know how good it is.
Yep.
So it wasn't like that years ago, but it's that way now. So we're all having to do that. In Ontario, in fact, Ontario came down hard first, and then Alberta hired some weenie from Ontario to run their ranges here, like things, and all of a sudden the hammer fell here. Right. To the point
and that's
that
the other thing too. If you're constantly fighting your CFO and having to jump through their hoops, that ain't cheap either.
Well, the CFO is actually, like, as far as it's like Ontario, it's a pain in the ass because they come and go, oh, we want to have like a sweeping, like little bars in the doors, or we don't think your air quality is good in the retail area. It's like, that's not your remit. Like there's nothing in the Firearms Act that talks about air quality anywhere.
Right.
So how about you just shut the fuck up?
And just do your job, and that's all.
Hire a lawyer.
Big cuppa, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. We have to hire a lawyer to contact the CFO and say, this isn't in your remit, right?
Right.
So you spent $10,000, because they're trying to create a different standard, which doesn't follow engineering standards.
Right.
But you have to fight it, because you can't roll over and say, oh, okay. It's like, if you don't fight it, then what else are they going to push? Or also, too, is they push you into a corner where you can never meet the standard. We had to take the rope. We had to fight back against the Alberta Health Services because they created a different standard for air quality for indoor ranges. It was completely off the charts. Like, it didn't matter. But the thing is, though, they didn't have any engineering background or any, so we had to fight it. And thank God we did, because again, if we'd accepted it, then they codify it. And once you get a year or two down, then it's really hard to fight it.
Right, because it's already been in practice. It's setting precedent. Yeah.
So you got to fight this stuff. And I hate fighting it. Like, I'm not litigious.
No.
Anybody who says, I'm going to sue somebody, they've never done it.
They've never sued anyone. Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've been there a few times. I completely agree with you. If anybody wants to go to court, they've never been to court.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this. I shudder to think what would happen with health services ever making mandates and setting policies based on little to no evidence at all. But I'm just going to move on from that. There's been a couple of comments here that we should. Sure. Where the heck are they here? So the first one, okay, you want to talk about like somebody in a Goldilocks zone. My God. Spudman says, the range I go to is open year round and they snow blow the range. They only charge $50. Spud, you better get them a fucking Christmas present, my friend, because you are living in the Goldilocks zone. Yeah, that's amazing.
Remember, like my facilities are both in GTA. I'm in there, and then also in Calgary. I'm in inner city Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
So
you are.
The rent is $62,000 a month.
Oh,
fuck.
Okay.
What's the square footage?
32,000 square feet.
Holy shit.
So it just like the sheer cost.
Yeah.
Okay? Like anything is too. So yeah, when you're in the middle of nowhere and it's like you get a snow blow. Yes. You know what? That's awesome. I'd love to have an outdoor range. I like shooting outdoors more than shooting indoors. Yep. But like Alberta, 8 months a year, you can't shoot outdoors comfortably.
Yeah.
Kurt's got his own range and he had to snowshoe to his this winter.
Right.
Well, you're right about that, and even you're centrally located in Calgary, and so at least whether you're in the northeast, the southeast, or the northwest or whatever, not a whole lot of southwest yet to speak of, but no matter where you are, you're kind of going to the center of the city. What if you had an outdoor range that was, hell and gone halfway to Drumheller? You would never. There's a whole segment of Calgary that would never have access to you whatsoever.
Oh, exactly. Like I'm a member of 4 ranges around Calgary. Like the clubs. The more clubs, the better. Like I think it's fantastic. We need to support the clubs. Like if they ever
100%.
come to me and say, "Hey, we're doing a shoot. Can you give me, prizes, whatever?" Like they're not competition. Right? They're not, right?
Well, that's another parallel with the martial arts industry. Every fucking kung fu school thinks that the taekwondo school down the street is their competition. Motherfucker, football is your competition. Soccer is your competition. Baseball is your competition. Your
Video
competition
game.
isn't the other martial arts school. It's the same. Like ranges, like the other range is not your competition, man. The other retailer is not your competition. Your competition is the fucking government in the case of firearms, right?
Hey, I'm looking at the report here, 1AB.
Yeah.
I'm really glad. Hey, like Igor, I'll make sure I pass on to Igor. Like,
we'll read it out. So for the audio members, he says, "I'm a member at TSC and really enjoyed my experience as a person with a disability. I was treated with respect and equality by all of the staff in my range, officer/instructor Igor."
Igor is a real human being.
Does he have a hunchback? Yes, master. Yes.
And the TSC is Target Sports Canada. And I gotta say this. I've got a platform here. I have fucking amazing teams in my places. Like I gotta say, like Julie and her team in Toronto do a great job. They really do. Steve and his team in Calgary, they do a great job. Like they really do.
Nice.
They're funny. They run the place. They're very customer oriented. The egos. Like if I ever get an email from somebody saying, "Oh yeah, like want to be mall cop, whatever," I'm thinking like you were in the were you in the right store? Because we pull up the cameras, we look at things like because
you never know.
I like to hire for soft skills. I can teach anybody about gun stuff.
Yeah.
Like to work in a gun store, you can teach all that stuff. Like we have training and programs, and we mentorship. Like we've got the whole stepping stone. But if they're not a good person,
right?
You can't teach them to be a good person.
Yeah. You got to find your superstar and teach them the skill to do the job.
Yeah. And I think Steve and Julie have done fantastic job of both those. They really have. They really have.
Fantastic.
Nice.
We've got a comment here that makes me want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Chris W said, "I'd love to find a range that accepts new members and would be happy to pay $600 plus. Good luck finding one in Central Ontario." So the question is here. I hear that a lot.
Members.
Yeah, there you go. So, I hear that a lot, but like, is that really a big problem in Ontario? You think?
Oh, totally. It totally is. Now, I think range 519, Dean Carr, those guys, they opened up, and it's in, where the hell is it? It's like, when people say Central Ontario,
Kitchener,
everybody has a different opinion what Central Ontario is.
Yeah, if you're in Toronto, Central Ontario is Toronto. If you're in North Bay, Central Ontario is North Bay.
Exactly. So
they're in Cambridge.
Okay, and so they're brand new. So he'd gladly take your money if you're in that area. Mm-hmm. Target Sports would gladly take your money to be a member there. Towards Ajax, there's a range there. I can't remember their name.
Farms Outlet Canada.
No, they don't have a range.
No, they don't?
No. Remember, they were going to build one, but they're going to redevelop the
that's right.
The landowner is going to actually rebuild that area, so they can't build a range there.
That's right.
Well, they could, but they'd be wasting $2 million.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So that's too bad. Because even the thing is too is like the more ranges, the better. Like I had my head up my ass. Like so, when I split with my partners back in 2009, and they built the Calgary Shooting Center, like literally, like 2 kilometers from me.
Yeah.
And I was bitter and angry and all this stuff. But you know what? The one thing about 10 years has shown that like we coexist just fine, and we're that close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And competition breeds success.
Well, the thing is too is that, and then like it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. I mean, I wouldn't be happy if a range opened up right across the street from Target Sports, but as long as you're, pick a slightly different quadrant, like slightly, then
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to open up right across the street anyways. Like that just doesn't make any sense, but open up somewhere where both of you are going to serve the community as a whole better.
Yeah, or just join Target Sports Canada.
Toronto could actually use probably another half dozen ranges. Like
crazy.
Ranges.
Yeah.
And I think it actually could support another half dozen commercial ranges.
Yeah.
Maybe you could create a gang outreach center.
Yeah.
Speaking of, bang up job on that CityTv documentary, sir. Congrats. That was amazing.
You know what? So the reporter, Christina, she reached out after she'd actually done her non-restricted PAL course at Target Sports.
Nice.
So she didn't even know, like, she just found online, where do I take a PAL course? We got her on one. The staff got her on one.
Still with the intent of doing an article?
She was doing her background on this. So when she first started doing her because she actually did an investigation.
Yeah.
So she started off, and her office started off with the premise that, it was stolen guns from lawful owners, right? We're feeding the market. Yeah. Then she quickly found that it wasn't. And then she quickly found from that, I'm going to look at you there, how tough it was to get a gun. So
anyway, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. So she did a lot of research. And then so when she reached out, I said, yeah, well, let's come in and we'll talk. Like, I flew to Toronto for it. Did you guys all watch that documentary?
I did.
Yeah.
So the coolest guy on there, I thought, was that 7-foot black guy, ex-gang enforcer. And when he's talking about, like, he was like straight up, I was an enforcer. Like, look at me, like, I'm the biggest man on the planet.
Who else would I be?
But he said, let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Accountant.
There's a reason why we got guns into Canada. Corrupt border guards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fuck.
That are making $48,000 a year. Yeah. Yeah.
They would actually say that because it's true. Wow. But nobody wants to admit that maybe a government employee is on the take.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That won't happen.
Absolutely.
So I thought that show was fantastic. There was some great things on there. And I liked how every time before a commercial break, she'd go, oh, so the problem is guns. The next thing is like, is gangs. Oh, next commercial. Oh, the problem is smuggling. Oh, the problem is gangs. Like before every, I was like, we couldn't have paid for a better show.
She gets it.
Well, and the beauty of it is that she came in wanting to learn and in an unbiased fashion. And that's something that's very rare.
That's called journalism.
It was actually because she said she wouldn't promise me that it was going to be a piece that was pro-gun. She says, I'm doing investigative. You have to believe that I'm actually investigating this. Yeah. And what I find was what my report will be.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, as long as you're not CBC going to paint me as the Boogaloo, king of the Boogaloo.
Could you imagine if that was the rule and not the exception? How much, just how much different media would be in this country if it was the rule and not the exception?
Okay, sometime when you're just sitting around looking for a giggle, Google myself and Boogaloo. CBC ran an article and tried to pin me as the king of the Canadian Boogaloo movement.
I think I saw that.
It was so my staff go, are you going to wear a crown?
Yeah.
they thought, because it was.
You need a crown that is like a Hawaiian t-shirt print.
Yeah, it was just so funny. We're like, are you shitting me? All because Steve said we brought a bunch of shirts in from Magpul or somebody and said, be the best dressed guy in the Boogaloo.
Yeah.
Like, this is like 2 years ago. And then they brought this parallel that now it's like, oh, see, you were being subtle back then. It's like,
wow. Here. The group provided So this is the Tech Transparency Project, a Washington-based group. Anyway,
which is a guy who works in his fucking house.
Yeah. The group provided CBC News with examples of Canadian Boogaloo, in caps, Canadian Boogaloo content it had identified, including a Facebook post in April from a Calgary gun store, The Shooting Edge, advertising a shotgun as your favorite 12-gauge Boogaloo gun.
April of 2020.
Oh, man.
You want to talk about not being able to take the joke, huh?
And then it says store, and then right in the middle of it, store owner J.R. Cox says the posts are satirical. Well, no shit.
So the best part is, so the reporter goes, well, are you afraid to be identified? Like with your client base, like, the whole cancel culture about you be linked to the Boogaloo. I go, if you think, I said, personally, my client base doesn't read the CBC.
Yeah.
So they won't be seeing this.
Yeah.
But for the few that do, they're not going to give a shit.
Yeah.
Because they realize that this is satirical, and only you are trying to make this something.
Yeah. Like only the CBC thinks that that's anything other than an Onion article.
Yeah. That was so funny. So anyway.
Well, you know what that really reminds me of? Just a couple of days ago, there was this multiple time winner on Jeopardy. And the last time that he was on Jeopardy, when they announced him at the beginning of the show, he went like this. He put it on his chest and he went like this. And the fucking internet lost their minds. There's this fans of Jeopardy group that's like headed by this other former Jeopardy winner. And they're like, all of a sudden the guy's a white supremacist and he's doing the 3%er sign and cancel this guy and trying to get him fired from his bank. And the worst part is they shamed him into apologizing. And then it turns out he's a 3-time winner.
That's what I thought. Winner.
That's exactly what it was. The first time he won, he went like this when they announced his name the next time he was on the show. The second time he won, he went like this when he was on the show. The third time, he just happened to do this instead of this or this. Yeah. So because he went like this to indicate that he was a 3-time winner on the show, that the man's a fucking white supremacist. Exactly what you said just reminds me of that whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm
a 2-time winner.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Okay, there's another comment here that leads me to another question. Scott said a little while ago, I don't want to bring up the price of lumber, but dang, Target backers ain't cheap. My range, the Saskatoon Wildlife Federation, so they've got 3 ranges, and in 2 of them are outdoors. But the big boar range especially, there's, I think it was, is it 9 bays on that range. Each of them is, a minimum of 25 meters wide, and everything of theirs is made of wood. And, even in the gun community, assholers are going to asshole, and those things are constantly being shot to shit. Mm-hmm. And what do you think? Is this going to be a thing for the next little while? Like, is the cost really going to go up for ranges that have wood backers?
Okay. What's that meme is like the best way to brag about how much money you make is to take a box of 9mm and a wooden backer to the range.
Well, I've switched to stripping out old trailers for the wallboard.
Yeah, there's you see that meme of the couple sitting down to this fancy dinner, and there's a Walmart a Home Depot in the background, and it says, "She said, take me out somewhere expensive." Right. It's the lumber department on the Home Depot.
Well, believe it or not, boys, the price of lumber's coming down. Chicago futures, it's going to come down soon. So
yeah,
wow, good, because I'm trying to save up for a garage.
Foolish endeavor.
Yeah, well, it is now. I'll tell you that much.
You live in the White House. You need a garage for.
The truth.
That's right.
What do I need a garage? I live in Saskatchewan.
You live in the White House. Come on. I see your house.
But it's pretty quickly they're going to burst down this door that I barricaded, and then I'm going to be in real trouble.
I want to make a note to Scotty since he's online. Scotty, if you're sick of buying wood, go find an old farmer that has a ton of old baler belting, and use that to string up your stuff.
There you go.
Anyway, he'll give it to you.
You're putting up a comment there, Sean. What comment was that?
That was Kurt.
Scotty's.
My
Oh.
hands are free.
Say no to shotguns on that. So many idiots destroy backers with shotguns, and for what? Because
Yeah,
they can,
with birdshot.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's
I
nuts?
need to check
They're
my
trying to get rid of
pattern.
the staples out of there.
I was
Yeah,
at
but
our
bring a
range.
target to check the pattern.
That's right.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a smart idea, right? Well, our range doesn't allow bird shot at the big bore range. What they do allow slugs, and I was there a couple of weeks ago, and I thought that it had been vandalized, but apparently it was a combination of people just shooting the shit out of the 2x4 and 4x4 frame, and it looked like it was mostly slugs, and they just kind of just shot the shit out of it, and then the wind blew the whole goddamn thing down, and the bay was basically useless.
In the UK, you go to the outdoor ranges. They generally put up 1/4-inch 4x4 plates of steel on about a 10-degree angle, just simple. And so you go out there with your white can of spray paint, and it all says pattern in day. So you walk up. So that's what you use, because the lead pellets are going to hit that thing, deflect right into the ground. You're not worried about a ricochet hazard. Done.
What a novel idea that is. That's a great idea.
Kind of smart.
I just did the review for the FD12 shotgun, the new Hunt Group / Canuck shotgun, and when you watch the video, I tried to do a patterning video, but the weather was shit, and I was tired.
Oh yeah, here it comes.
Oh man, no, it was the worst day ever.
Oh, you mean you can't shoot?
That also, that is a part of it. And we didn't have a proper backer, so we just threw these stakes into the ground and 2x4s. So there wasn't a solid backing for the paper, and the wind was blowing it around and ripping it around. It was just a fucking shit show. Hey, why don't I just get a big goddamn piece of steel?
Yeah.
Spray paint it.
Or get Phil to Cerakote it.
Or get Phil.
Actually, from now on, you should start using Ian's name, not Phil. Ian. For a discount, call Ian.
Call Ian. Hey, you've got a nice comment here from Carlos. Carlos says, "I'm here to tell you, JR does a lot for me and my shooters. He's truly a top notch and awesome to deal with, or he truly is top notch and awesome."
You can cash that check now.
Right.
Well done.
Yep. That's money well spent right there.
Yeah. At the very beginning, you were talking about the difference between most stores are they businesses or hobbyists, and I think you really that needs more discussion, because that's exactly it. Is you get people who quickly forget that this has to be a business, and there has to be a profit. But if there's profit, then you can share.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. If there's no profit, you can't share. And the more profit there is, the more you can share.
Yep.
So we pride my guys, we pride ourselves on what we can do with corporate philanthropy. And I think everybody should have, that should be a line item in your expenses in a business.
Yeah, for sure.
Your corporate philanthropy should be an actual line item. So that way you can rate it, and it's a metric, as opposed to just giving shit away or not knowing what you're doing. And then pick your lane and stay in it. We do tons of stuff for military groups, because I'm a military guy. But then it doesn't matter. We get kids swim groups and fucking softball groups, and we've got a little package we give to any of them for their silent auctions, because we want shooting sports to be seen as giving in all of these different things, not just in our known regular, we're not preaching to convert it. We need to convert more
in their own
people.
circle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that costs resources.
Yeah. Because remember, 20% of the population in Canada hates guns. 20% like guns. 60% don't give a shit.
Right.
Right? They really don't give a shit. So all of our jobs in the shooting community is to staple that 60% to that fence.
Yep.
So that when they're saying, "Oh, you should get rid of guns," they go, we met them, we've gone to the range, we've seen, they're okay. They're not doing anything. No, yeah. I don't want to spend $2 billion of my tax-paying money to pick on them, because they don't bug me. Yeah. There's no net benefit to me.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what we got to do. That's really the mission of the shooting sports.
I completely agree.
Agreed.
right? And then so that's why our walk-in programs at the ranges are so important. Some members get their knickers in a knot, like because they say, oh well, because I don't have all the lanes for members. Well, between Target Sports and the Shooting Edge, like we're almost at 250,000 new shooters that we've introduced to the shooting sports.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like a lot when you think about some of the ranges of states, but given our demographic, I'm pretty proud of that number.
Sure.
Of new people we've brought to the shooting sports. And again, most of them have never taken it up. But all you need is a couple of them to. But if nothing else, that 250,000 shooters are stapled now to that fence because they've come through, they've had a good time. They're never going to buy a gun, but they felt safe. They were looked after. They saw we were reasonable people. That fence we're going to live.
And then when they're watching Bill Blair on television, tell them how dangerous gun owners are and how dangerous guns are and why we need to ban them for your safety. Yes. They'll say, really? That's not my experience.
Exactly. That's really why all these clubs are so important. I guess the one person I think that this country, the shooting sports, needs to acknowledge is Ken Coops of Wild West up in Edmonton. He broke the mold of doing the walk-in shooting programs.
Yep.
Oh.
Right? He's the first guy. He did that. And when I was going to open the Shooting Edge, he's the only guy, when I reached out to all kinds of businesses for my business plan to get my numbers, he's the only guy that was 100% honest and transparent with me. He gave me all the encouragement. And I think people in the shooting sports, need to acknowledge that Ken has probably done more to protect the handgun shooting sports in this country by doing this than anybody else going.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
100%. And people don't, a lot of people out there who are going to watch this won't know who he is. But Ken, he was he was world champion for international, for IPSC, and world international for cowboy shooting. Now he's like one of the top sporting clay guys. Like, this guy can just shoot. Give him a fucking gun, and he hits the bullseye. Like, I love Ken a bit, so I'm fucking jealous as shit because I have to work so hard to hit a target. And he just picks up a gun, and he's a world champion.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he's just so good.
I shot my first handgun at that range, believe it or not.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is too is like we have different business models. Like he kind of like through the Wild West is almost like a sausage mill.
Oh, for sure.
But he's the first guy to do it. And so we have to acknowledge that. Like sometimes we have to forget, like, he's the first guy to do it. He took the risk. So, I mean, I think I've done a good job of modifying it and changing it and morphing it. But Ken still, he's the godfather of all this stuff.
We really do have a little bit of a marketing problem, don't we?
Yeah.
We're seen in a particular way by, the anti-gun group.
I'm walking away because I'm getting another bottle.
There's a whole shitload of them right behind you. I love that warthog, by the way. I'm going to tell him when he comes
awesome.
back. That is the most kick-ass warthog. Anyway, we're seen in a particular way by the people who either don't give a shit or are just against us. What the fuck is that?
Good morning.
Look at you.
First one was this was a really nice one. Ugh, fuck! I don't even that this just camera is.
What Bunawada Distillery?
It will have Zach pronounce it. It's
from the Smith Distillery. Yeah.
Did that say Bunahaban? Anyway, so we're seen as in a particular way by a certain segment of the population, but it seems like whenever we try to change that perception, it just comes across as you're argumentative or you're a hillbilly. You know what I mean?
Not always.
Well, you're right. Not always. That's a hyperbolic statement on my part. But
yeah, I think in Canada, with by and large, I mean, we're our own worst enemy. I mean, I don't want to call it, but I know the guy who brought the freedom bullets to the parade, like the thing in Calgary here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
were those live rounds?
No. He was heading out because he was trying to promote the Young Guns program, like kids shooting programs.
Okay.
But I was like, when he said he was going to do that, I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
Like, really? Like maybe like think about our marketing.
Yeah.
Canadian shooting sports. You're bringing these dud rounds to a rally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there might be a possibility this will get skewed by?
Just imagine if you worked for a tobacco company and you went to the Freedom Rally and gave out free cigarettes. If you think that would be a bad idea, then just apply that to the Freedom bullets.
I was just like, fuck. Okay, but each their own. But I was just like, shit. Like, but yeah, life goes on.
Yeah, well,
good thing it didn't make as much of a splash, like negative splash, as I thought it might.
which is probably good.
I'm
Well,
sure Tracy Wilson
like
lost her mind.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, but that's the thing. It was playing bad in our community as well.
Yeah.
So like, what's the other side going to do about it? When our side is like, okay, that's one guy, and it was a bad idea, and we don't agree with it. What does the other side have to run with anyway?
And it is freedom bullets, freedom of expression.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing his thing.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I voiced my opinion before he did it. But at the end of the day, like, what can we do? It's like, we don't want to be like.
You can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, but that's the problem. Like, so much of our population now thinks that you can force people to drink the water.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Or take the syringe.
Or take the syringe, right? Yeah, literally. Hey.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's the thing is freedom of choice is just gone. You have to live my way, right?
Yeah. What's that meme is like, you spent your entire life being told not to force drugs on others, and right now you're being told to force drugs on others.
Yeah. Well, my whole thing, this whole, okay, we're diving in. We only have 10 minutes, so it's okay if we dive in. This whole thing, am I the only one on this fucking planet who remembers I think that is the answer, by the way. Am I the only one who remembers over the last 20 years all of the experts telling us about the dangers of over sanitization because it creates superbugs?
No, I remember.
Chris, please.
And now
I'm
it's
30
like
years older than you. I remember.
So
that
you
too.
remember, right? So it's well, you did remember, and now you can't even remember when you got up to pee in the evening.
Right.
Well, he shaves that memory off, I think.
Yeah, the memory's gone now. But now it's like, you sanitized your hands 30 seconds ago. You better go sanitize again.
Yeah,
it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, we put because we do. I have this thing, the army truck and trailer that we haul around to different shooting competitions and things. And in there, we have this big 2-person hand wash station. So last March, we pulled it into the front of the edge, and we put this hand wash station right in the entryway. Because I was like, I hate fucking having to use alcohol and all kinds of things. Because again, the same thing. They kept saying, well, and even when COVID first started coming out, they said, well, all the alcohol does is kind of put it into stasis.
Yeah.
You need soap and water. Okay, then put fucking hand wash stations everywhere. Like, quit giving everybody alcohol.
Right.
What happened to soap and water?
I know guys who own distilleries, and they were just making out like bandits because they're making sanitizer. I'm thinking, like, dude, follow the money.
Ravinder Minhas made bank.
Well, you're right. There were three. There
was an airline.
Smooth 42, Lucky Bastard, and Minhas. All three of them. Three. No, man. Now we're gonna get canceled.
Screenshot. Yeah. Here we go.
All three of them were like they're just, it's everywhere. I went into my Affinity credit union the other day, and there's a Smooth 42 hands bottle at every single thing. Like, those guys are just, like, good for them, man. Like, that's pivoting. Like, that's entrepreneurship,
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's reacting to the Yep.
Yeah.
Supply and demand.
But what you're saying is very un-Canadian. You're saying, well done, you.
I know, right?
Canadians don't like success. And Canadians, in general, get bitter and so jealous about anybody else.
Someone else has success.
Who's made success because somehow it's at their expense.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with Canada.
Not fair.
It's not fair. I've had employees tell me that the only reason I'm successful is because first thing they go is like, you had a silver spoon, so you came from money, and then you stole my idea. I'm like, my dad was a fucking plumber, and I was in the army.
Yeah,
I was a master corporal in the army. So fuck yeah. Like, I took my return of contributions and fucking rolled the dice.
Meanwhile,
either way.
Meanwhile, we'll listen to a guy tell us about how all small business owners are crooks and we need to make these laws to stop all of these crooks. And we'll just completely forget that our savior beating the drum against all of these people who are unfairly stealing money from the government and taxes and all this kind of shit is a fucking trust fund kid.
Yep.
Who's
Get me
never
started,
really
my
had to
head's gonna
work a
come
day
off.
in his life. All he
No,
got,
no. He worked a couple days. He was a ski instructor and substitute teacher.
Well, that's
When
what
he
I'm saying.
impregnated
Like,
his
And a
student.
we're
molester.
talking about a trust fund kid who still gets to stay a millionaire as a freaking school
Well-
teacher and ski school instructor.
And his wealth is growing by the month.
Well, it's growing by
But-
the fucking second. But this is the guy that we'll follow. This is how much we don't like success. We'll follow a trust fund kid who pretends that he's one of them against
For the
everybody
people.
else. Yeah.
What did
I
Ronald
can't
Reagan
believe-
say? What was this the line? It's like when government says
Nancy, where's my hat?
he says
Where the
When-
fuck's at?
like with the CERB program and all these, different subsidies, which some of them are needed, but when government says, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. That's when we got a problem.
Yeah, it was the two most something words that you can hear, or the two most contradictory words or something. I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
9 words. Yeah. From the
Or
government.
two-
I'm,
the most
I'm from
contradictory
the government. I'm here to help. Oh, 8.
I meant sentences, not words, but yeah.
I am 9.
Phrases?
Yeah, but
Let's go
Chris,
with
Chris
phrases
has, he's
and
in the
move on.
Oval Office, so whatever he says counts.
Yeah, that's right. Fucking executive order, bitches. Boom.
All right.
But at least he doesn't say every other word.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway.
Well, and apparently I'm on a watch list now. Well, that sucks because I'm supposed to fly to Ottawa middle of next month. So
Oh, you can
That's
go
gonna
ahead
be
and
difficult.
fly, but are you coming
Oh
back?
my God, to be able to travel again.
you know what, man, I'm just fucking doing it. I don't give a shit.
Well, I go between Calgary and Toronto, but I miss going. I used to travel because of my William Evans. I was over in the UK a week a month.
Mm.
And I don't know, if you ever tire of London, you've tired of life. It is such an amazing city.
I need to make it there. In 2020, I was supposed to go to Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Florida, and Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. And I
You
didn't
went
get to do
Wolseley.
any of that. Yeah, I went to fucking
Was it, was
Wolseley.
it the bathhouse tour? What?
Well, no, well, when I rescheduled it, it's going to be now. But it was actually I was going for jujitsu actually, but I didn't get to do any of it. And I've never been to any of those places before. I was going to knock all of those off. Well, I've been to Florida,
Yeah, he
but
was going to
the rest of
different
them, I was
cities.
going to knock them all off my bucket list.
You were going to international destinations to roll with sweaty men on a carpet or on a mat.
I said
Yes,
it's
right.
the bathhouse
Yeah.
tour.
Yeah,
He was
that's
talking about
actually true.
PG earlier.
AR didn't know how accurate his description was.
Well, I tell you what, if you want to be a power engineer to generate the steam for said bathhouse,
Hey,
hey, look at that. How about that
Well
for a
done.
Day and a
segment?
half. Holy Christ.
That's why you guys pay me the big bucks, right?
it is.
Yeah.
Anyway. Let me pull up the logo. Sorry, JR. Here we go. Boom. So for all the power engineers out there looking or thinking of working on their next Steam ticket, Steam Smart is here to help. Their short courses are available live and online with a first-class instructor willing to answer any questions you might have. If school was several years ago and you don't do the math so good, don't worry. they will help you out. Their courses are designed around this. So if you're just starting out the program or want to polish your skills just prior to writing, Steam Smart's the way to do it. Check them out, www.steamsmart.ca.
Math is hard.
Beautiful. Math
is
is
hard.
Don't do
hard.
math good.
Don't do math good.
Smart like truck.
Well,
Hey,
sorry for joining late, guys. I apologize. JR, I'm
That's all
sorry.
right, buddy.
I had a bunch of questions I want to ask you. This was great fun, and I need to learn more about that warthog in the
At
back.
least you made it. Oh yeah, I meant
Tell
when
you
you
the story
were
about
getting your
Am.
booze, we were talking about the warthog, and we were supposed to ask you, but
Right.
Okay, that's it. I got a pretty good whiskey collection going on here.
Oh, wow.
We saw
Yeah,
that
there's
too,
a second
yeah.
shelf. Look at that. Oh, my goodness.
So that's the Scotch, and then we got the kind of the in between stuff, and then we have the gins.
My mouth is watering all of a sudden.
good lord.
So,
Is that a what do you call it? Like a cigarette holder that's coming out of the mouth of that warthog?
no, it's actually a Zulu spike.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What is that?
Long story short, he was supposed to come back with a Zulu spear through his head with a sign saying, "Abandon hope, all ye who enter here." And I was going to put it outside my office. But they fucked it all up. So they just put this kind of Zulu spiky thing through his side, and it's like, oh, fuck.
Oh,
he's
it's
going to my
not.
house.
It's not sticking out of his mouth.
No.
See, it goes inside his head.
Depth perception.
Oh, yeah. From the angle that you're.
It's the spear that the Zulu warriors carry. That
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. The angle right now, like you can probably see it in the background.
Yeah,
of
it
the
looks like
photo.
he's gonna do milady.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, is Kelly still watching? Can we do a British accent?
Oh, bloody hell.
Oh, crikey, mate. No, that's Australian. Anyway.
Yeah, well, good job.
Fine wine for hand-to-hand combat.
There it is.
Hi, Mr. Prime Minister.
In it, yeah.
It's okay. My
What a bottle.
YouTube Steve there. Every time he does an accent, it always sounds Russian. He tries to do everything. And always. Sounds
Would you like to hear my Indian accent?
No. Bloody bastard.
We are going to India and we do very warm things in India.
That's Russian Indian.
I know, that's what he said. That's what he said. Every accent sounds Russian.
Everything sounds Russian.
You want to hear my Ethiopian accent?
No, we're done.
I don't know what an Ethiopian accent sounds like. So.
It sounds like this.
It goes like this, Nostrovia.
Hey, before we log off, because we're going to have to log off quick, for those of you who have actually stuck around for all of this bullshit over the last 10 minutes or the last hour and a half, whatever, we are going to be watching the Canuck FD12 video live. You can watch it with us if you want on YouTube. It'll be premiering in exactly 13 minutes on our YouTube channel. If you
do you want me to cue that up for the stream here? We could play it on the stream.
Do it.
Can we comment?
Yeah. Can we just stay online and do that? Because that'd be
Can we do like
just hold on, I'll
like
get it.
Ozzy? What's his name? Ozzy.
Ozzy and
Osbourne?
Harriet.
No, the Australian guy who comments on videos and stuff.
Oh,
my God,
Ozzy
that's
Man.
Funny.
Ozzy Man. He's
Ozzy
hilarious.
Man reviews.
Yeah.
Destination.
There we got a 7-foot tall
Destination
blonde
fuck.
bald guy. Okay.
You know, we might get to Destination Fucked because this is the very first gun review I've ever done. And I tried to do it fancy, but it looks pretty fucking amateurish. I'll admit that right off the bat.
Your thumbnail is much better than my stolen ones off Google Images.
Well, that's just because I know how to use Photoshop. That doesn't mean I know how to video edit. I'll tell you this. I'm the guy who did the FD12 review, and during the takedown portion called it a DP12.
Yeah.
Hey, just say Ian told me that was the real name.
Right.
Ian told me. I'm gonna get T-shirts made out that say Ian did it.
Who the
Ian's
fuck is
fault.
Ian?
I have no
Gun
idea
Jesus?
who Ian is.
Ian is the head sales guy at Odell. He's Phil's
Oh, we're totally doing that.
Yes, you blame everything on Ian.
You know what? If Phil is listening to this and he's smart, he is making those T-shirts right now.
Right now.
It's
Right
Ian's fault.
now. Yeah. And of course, Phil thinks that I'm talking about double penetration when I said the DP12. I was actually talking about the double barrel pump shotgun, but well, whichever. Double penetration
It's
works.
Ian's fault.
It's totally Ian's fault.
Ian's fault.
We need to have Ian on the show so we can blame him for an hour and a half.
Oh, you make sure he does a couple of shots first because he's a pretty funny guy. The more
Is
you
he?
drink, the funnier he is, or more importantly, the funnier he thinks he is.
That's the best.
like us.
though.
That's key.
Does he laugh at his own jokes? Because if he doesn't, then it's not worth
He's
it.
a dad, of course he
Who
does.
doesn't?
Absolutely. Fantastic. If you
What
don't laugh at
guy-
your own jokes, who else
Dad
will?
doesn't laugh at their own jokes.
That makes sense to me.
Well, we got about 10 minutes to kill here. 9 minutes now, but you want to hear the best of all dad jokes right now?
You had questions for me.
Yeah, you said you had like a million
you
questions.
said you had questions for me.
Well, yeah, but that's we'll
had
just
them all
have you
written
back,
down.
and we'll give you another hour and a half, and it won't cost
It
you a
was fun.
thing.
I had a great time. I'd come back in a heartbeat.
Nice.
I just figured that you had them all written down, but Ian stole the paper.
Oh, hey, there it is.
Boom.
There it is.
I'm gonna blame Ian.
Crickets.
Ian's the guy who came up. Have you seen that shirt that he had? Like Canada's broke, and it's got that 1960s avant-garde picture of Trudeau on it.
No.
Oh, fuck!
Is this on the internet?
It's on the internet.
Is it on the interwebs?
It's on the interweb. It's so we know it's not. It's just a fad because it's on the interweb.
What does it say on the shirt? Canada's broke?
Canada's broke, and trying to see if I can find it.
All I see is one that says broke, and it has what's his name, Monocle Man from Monopoly doing the. That's all I can find.
Here's
No,
we have a question from the chat
right.
here.
Steve was asking earlier.
well,
Now Jens is asking.
Steve Emblin from EM Precision Rifles wants to know if you're going to go to King of 2 Miles this year.
I don't know if I'm going to. I had so much
What did
fun.
you shoot last year?
Pardon me?
What rifle did you shoot last year?
I bought a rifle,
Sure.
and the guy didn't let. It was a shit show. I had fun. I fucking had fun.
Right,
Like,
you did. I
it
saw
was
that.
the whole time hanging out with the boys. I had a great time. But if I don't have my own fucking rifle, I'm not wasting my time again.
Mm-hmm.
You
I
at
know
least
some
got to
guys that
come
can
to the
build one.
campground. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I had a great time at the campground. And we'll probably bring the trailer out there. Like, the thing is too, because remember too, is like I've been around the block a few times. So guys like Peterson Brass, if they're gonna come up here, Katie from Kestrel, like a lot of the main supplier, like the main guys and girls from King of 2 Mile in the States.
Yeah.
I'm friends with them. I've been doing business with them for fucking decades, or we just hang out. Like they're just good people.
Yeah.
So like I went down to King of 2 Mile in the States last year or 2 years ago now because they and man, I had so much fun and seeing Mr. Tubb and getting to chat with him. If you guys don't know the Tubb family,
Yep, David Tubb.
Yep. Kurt's got a David Tubb special.
David is the grand poobah, the grandpappy of this stuff. You the man. Like, and people don't, again, it comes back to people don't give credit where credit is due. The Tubbs have come up with some of the most, I guess, influential changes to long range shooting and mental management.
Definitely.
And they just don't get the kudos for it. Like, so the Tubb family are awesome. Are awesome. And there's no other way to say it. Like, I don't speak well. Words are hard. Tubb family.
Well, you polished off a whole bottle of scotch
family
there.
good.
Good.
Just trump it. They're the best family. The best family. Nobody's a better family.
Nobody's ever done what we've done.
Yeah.
But they've done more for the long range shooting than people give credit for. And I love the King of the 2 Mile, and I'd like to see Paul Phillips come up from the States.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, because
not fair for the rest of us, but
he'll kick our asses. But he's such a great guy. But we'll learn, because what we were supposed to do last year before the King of the 2 Mile is the Shooting Edge was going to pay for him to come up. We're going to host him and hold a clinic, so he'd go through all of the steps, all the things that they do prior. Because so we shot the first day at King of 2 Mile. I went back to the hotel with Paul Phillips and all those guys, and they worked on their math and everything for like 2 fucking hours before we went for dinner. Right, so like So it wasn't like the candidates like, oh yeah, we'll go back and check our Kestrel and swing it around a bit. Okay, great, it's Calgary. Okay, let's make it tomorrow. So it would elevate the Canadian game so much further if we got these guys up here.
Yeah,
right.
So we were trying everything. The problem is that we just couldn't get Paul because of the quarantines in. So when it comes close to that, like, I'd like to still do something with Paul and have him come up, or Katie from Kestrel come up and work with us. So that's the thing is too. That's the thing is I'm trying to leverage my relationships with these people that I've known for 20 years. I mean, like, and I think it's a good thing they're holding at Rob Furlong's place. I mean, I put Rob through his basic inventory, right? Yeah, he was on my rifle team. Like I was
Nice.
the master instructor and coach for the brigade back then.
wow.
Right.
So yeah, I put him through all that stuff. You know, so I think it's true. It's like we've got all these people are trying to go towards the same direction.
Yeah.
And that's what
You
we're
just
trying.
need the world to stop losing its mind so that you can leverage some of it.
Yeah.
Well, because we can build the sports,
Yeah.
right? We build the sports and we create this legacy. Like, you know, like that's what I'd love to see. I'd love to
You know
see
what?
that.
I wonder though, like you're, and it's. I'm not saying it's a bad idea or anything at all to have the the celebrity types or the well-known people in the sport. But you know what? Canada has developed a reputation kind of all on its own. Sort of before this, right? And we have a pile of great shooters in Canada. It's just exposure and opportunities, I think, that we're missing.
But come on, if I could bring Paul Phillips here,
No, you're right. You're absolutely
so
right.
so that you could have an advanced conversation and some time with him, as opposed to like the guy who's trying to pick up a TRG 42 and can go shoot the King of 2 Mile. Like what the fuck? like the thing is, so we can take you who's already at this level,
Right.
and you need somebody like him to take you to this little
next
that's
10th.
going to be the difference.
Yeah.
As opposed to taking the new guy who's down
For
here.
sure.
We're gonna be
Yeah,
able to-
he only needs to work with the 10% that's already reached that certain level.
the
Like
2%.
me, who
Or
if I would,
the 3%.
the 3%. like
The
me,
3%er
the guy who, if I was going to King of 2 Miles, would bring a fucking Remington 700 VTR.
Mosin.
Hey,
Like I don't need time with him
Mosin?
right now because I wouldn't be Mosin. I wouldn't be able to absorb most of what he's telling me at this point, anyways. But an accomplished shooter already, like Kurt, or like he could probably really benefit from that sort of thing.
yeah, I need to get I have to. I'm the first guy say I need to build up a proper rifle of my own.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to build it up. I'm going to go.
you
to
can borrow my
somebody else
Remington
to-
700 VTR if you want.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll go to EM.
Hey.
I'll go to somebody to build me a rifle. I can get all the components. Like I can get all my ammo. Like
I don't know, man. I don't know if there's anything better at the shooting center than my Remington 700 VTR. It's chambered in 308.
Right.
I got a Savage for you.
Ooh.
Actually, remember last year the guy? What's his name? Keenan.
Yeah,
Came in
Keenan.
second with a Savage action in a MDT chassis.
Oh, really?
It was a fully stock rifle except for the chassis.
Why not?
338.
MDT.
Lapua,
I think MDT is so underrated. Like people kind of like think, oh, they're the discount KDEX. Fuck. The things coming out of the MDT, think tank, skunk tank is impressive shit. The engineering, the quality, I'm always impressed. I look at the price of what they're selling stuff for.
Yeah.
Like how the shit are they selling it for that price? Like with the R&D that goes into the engineering that goes into that.
Yeah.
Great job. So I think MDT for West Coast, they need a shout out. Like they are doing some amazing stuff.
No question. Mike Heineck. Oh,
We
my God.
are
We're
T
gonna
minus
beat this
1
horse.
minute. Sorry, we are T minus 1 minute before
Well, that's
YouTube
okay.
is gonna interrupt
Let's
us.
dive into this because I don't think it'll
Sure.
play right away. I think we have to hit play.
Oh, do we have to hit play? Okay,
I think
that's
so.
good.
Read this out.
All right.
Yeah.
Question for JR. If you shop like in the UK, do you deal with suppressors? What's their process like? How would we theoretically get them there? Yes.
Well, bloody Nora.
Get them here.
We sell the first thing they're called moderators in the UK.
Sound moderators.
Ooh,
And
that
everybody
sounds
has
proper.
If you show up without one, they look at you like you're a retard.
Or a Canadian.
Yeah.
Because I said, "Oh, are we going to we're going hunting. Are we wearing ear protection?" They go,
Why?
You didn't bring a moderator?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's
Nobody wears
legal.
ear protection because everybody has a moderator." In
Really?
a lot of counties, you can't shoot if you don't have a moderator on your rifle.
Yeah.
Okay. How all the fucking anti-gun dipshits are always saying, well, they got rid of all the guns in the UK. They don't have gun deaths. We have to follow the UK model or all this model. Well, all these guys are using fucking suppressors. Like, why can't we just pick up on that then?
Well,
'cause then
exactly.
we'd have
We
to do
should.
everything
We
else.
should. We sell probably I'd say 70% of every rimfire we sell has a moderator, and I would say 60 to 70% of every center fire we sell has a moderator.
Really?
If we don't sell one with it, it's because they already have one.
Right.
Yeah.
Almost every barrel is threaded. Like every barrel is threaded.
Shit.
So I would love to see that here. I think from a health and safety perspective, and just again, not bugging your neighbors, we should have them.
Nobody cares about your health and safety.
Well, here's the thing. My fucking range will not open before 10 a.m. on a Sunday because they had to get all of the...
There's a reason for that.
All of the property owners around them have to sign off on the range. And one property owner who's more than a mile away from the range said, I don't want anybody shooting before 10 a.m. on Sunday.
Of course.
We don't have to worry about that at all if you got suppressors.
No,
That's right.
because we have to change it. We don't call them suppressors. We call them moderators.
That's what we have to do. You're right. Yeah.
We have to start working on the narration.
Yeah.
Silencers. I'm
Oh
joking.
God,
Terrible.
you're not silent about anything you fire through a gun. Doesn't matter what you
That's
put
right.
on it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Call them less loud
Correct.
bangerators.
Yeah.
Me don't make noise good anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't make lots of noise.
But you're right. I mean, the question is that we sell a boatload of moderators.
Yeah.
And there's a lot because there's such a big market there that the technology in moderators has come a long way, like so far, and it's easy. Like you have to list them on their firearms license when it's a center fire, but when it's a rim fire, we can sell them. There's almost no paperwork when it's a rim fire moderator.
Are we 5 seconds from live? Is that what that means, Sean?
Looks like
I think so.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm wondering.
Let's do this.
Let's
do this.
Okay, let's see.
Destination fucked.
Add the stream. Come on.
And oh man, that's choppy as shit.
Hold
Somebody
on.
feed JR some more.
Hey, look at that handsome son of a bitch.
Whoa.
Why, thank you.
Are we gonna be
I
able
don't know
to
what that
wait,
is.
Hold on.
I did not put that countdown on there.
Can you
Look
hear
at
it?
that handsome son of a bitch.
No, did you share audio? We're not getting video anymore either, and it's choppy as fuck, Sean.
Well, it's working good for me. I can see it. Look at that
It's
guy.
not. Well, I can't. We can't hear anything either.
All right. Well, stop this. Sorry, guys. I can't make it work.
Well, poop.
That's why I need to invest in the new computer.
Well, you know what? I'm about to jump over. I'm gonna jump over there and
Well, let's
I'm
go
gonna
like
watch
this
it live
first.
with everyone
JR,
else.
thanks for coming on. Shout
Really
out to John
appreciate it.
Johnston for the kick-ass music here. And JR, we're going to have you back. And if you guys want a sweet custom guitar, hit John up at johnstoncustomerguitars.com. Tell him we sent you. He'll build you one with 10% off. So, yeah. And on
Awesome.
that
Thank
note,
you,
we'll
guys.
see you
Fun.
guys next week. Thanks, guys.